So I guess no one's running the camera, so I just run over there? Or?
Yeah, as soon as you want to start.
And then I run over and just set it, he's gonna...
Live from Stilton Studios, it's the fucking LOGJAM! Hey, week 8 is coming up. We just got through week 7. What a pretty interesting week for some of us, not for some of us. But what do you guys think, man? I mean, we're about halfway home. We're about halfway there. We're at the turn. We're getting our hot dog and our fucking second 12-pack before we head out. I don't know. What do you think, Billy?
Ooh, the Titans are in a dire state, guys. We're sliding, but it's getting exciting. We have a lot of 3 and 4 teams, a Trace and Quattro team.
Yes, we do.
There's one Trace and Quattro team.
But it's starting to LOGJAM, and we're getting a little separation.
So 4 and 3 teams just in the playoffs. Yeah. One of the 3 and 4 teams hanging on, but it's a tiebreaker scenario. But one team really separates the middle, and really not that many points from top to bottom. A couple, 2 teams, 3 teams over 1,000. A bunch of teams right there. It's a horse race.
Yep, it is. And, you know, we're still trying to get to that 7-win mark to get in. There's a couple teams that are right on the doorstep there as far as, with Steve's OBJY and apostrophe S and also the Fury. Both of those teams are right there chasing down that 7th win. I draw one of them next week, so I will try to keep them pulled back into the pack and we'll kind of create that logjam. But it really does seem... Again, this year, like, it's working out a lot like last year. Like, there actually is a couple good, 1 or 2 that are struggling maybe at this point, but otherwise, it's anybody's game in the middle. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets those playoff spots. And it's really interesting that when we get to those last weeks and we have matchups that are dictated by who gets in, and when it's this tight, it's fun. So it should be a good year, guys.
Another crazy thing to look at this week is how the divisions may affect playoff seeding.
Right.
There is the potential with Baylor with not as many points as he would have, sneaking into a bye week that he didn't earn necessarily, or that is, I guess, different this week than it would have been in years past.
That's true.
Yeah, and I don't know, whether I think, you play who's on your schedule. I mean, if we'll eventually get into that on this show, but you play who's on your schedule, and that's all you can really do, especially in this game. So I don't know how much you can fault a team for, playing maybe teams that don't put out their best, or how much you can blame a team who gets beat a couple weeks, like let's say like the Sin, who seem to constantly face points like 130. They're constantly in the battle of the highest point total of the week. Yep. He's actually won last week, the stick or whatever.
His highest points this week, Poland. And he's right there at the top of points scored. Maybe one of the tough luck guys, whereas Baylor with like 700 points against right now is sneaking through weeks that he's not doing his best. But he's facing Mahomes out, young and confused, about to become everybody's favorite team. Because fire sale, people picking up players, but also rooting for him to knock off those guys that are in playoff position and maybe not be someone that you're facing a playoff spot against.
Absolutely, and he's got to remember, he's got to be competitive enough to not get fined every week for having low point total, and hopefully he's thinking about playing, to get the first pick overall, which has value in itself. But yeah, it's crazy how a bunch of his players have been traded into great scenarios for him, and he is presented a position here to maybe one of 2 things, maybe to get back on the track because of the logjam, or does he say, hey, I'm going to sell while I'm down, I'm going to use the value of these players. It's going to be an interesting thing to see as well.
It is very interesting to see how these points are starting to spread out. You have Benner, who is almost 200 points lower than anyone else who's faced any other team. So very lucky on him. Like you said, a guy like Cardinal Sin. I was 1 running back away. I could have started anybody else this week on my squad, and I would have beat him. But instead, I thought Damian Williams was my man. He choked. Sony Michel went off for 3 touchdowns. Everybody else I had would have taken care of business.
And
Mr. Edmonds,
you catch the Sin on a week where he doesn't have.
I know.
The
Mr. McCaffrey. I know.
And
sorry, I apologize.
And yeah, that was maybe the game of the week if we were still doing those things. And I wish we had the.
Well, we do have a game this week that came down to 1 point. We'll get to that later
Yes.
during the show.
Will we though?
We might.
It feels like we might now.
We were talking about a few mistakes. Starting and not starting Aaron Rodgers on the bench was probably the glaring mistake of the week. Would have been the difference in that Hammers game, which ended up being a 1-point game again. 40 points on his bench. I'm sorry, Ari, but that's. Whoa.
Yeah, if you trace back the amount of trades that Ari put through to get the ownership of Aaron Rodgers, and most of them were Kansas City Chief offensive players. They really were. It was like Travis Kelce, it was Kareem Hunt, it was Tyreek Hill. He had like the whole offense, and he traded it to get Aaron Rodgers basically, and then benches him in key scenarios. And I'm not one to talk because I did it with the Bears, but that's a big difference. Anyway, I think lesson learned here by the Hammers, hopefully.
Absolutely.
5 touchdowns. All right, so, hey, moving forward, we're going to talk about this week's matchups kind of individually real quick. The Titans face the Sin. Billy, how'd you feel? I mean, I know you put up huge points again because you played the Sin and everybody does. But how was that?
Lamar Jackson really did good. I thought he was going to do a little better. I really messed up. I picked up the Cardinals defense earlier this week and thought I would start him, and then I just didn't feel like they were really a good team that travels to the East Coast. Historically, they're not.
Yeah, they're not.
And then all of a sudden, you had Mr. David Johnson get on the field for the first 2 plays and not play the rest of the game. And I know we have some different opinions about that within our league. I've seen some social media things, but I feel that what Matthew Berry said on his show was 100% correct. The Cardinals organization was absolutely stupid to even let that man on the field. The fact that they signed Alfred Morris today says that he's going to be gone for a while. I get that you want to have like a game plan and not like tip your hat to what's going on, but you got to be fucking kidding me. You're going to put that guy on the field who's your franchise, who literally is your franchise. All the money, all the eggs in the basket you have for him.
Chase Edmonds is pretty good. So I don't know if
He's great. And if you want to get him, my number is 480-388-2554, extension 420.
Running back, incredibly important in fantasy. It's kind of the basis of what our league's been thriving around for years. It just doesn't seem like that important of a position in the NFL. It seems replaceable at times. There are the magic ones. There are the ones that are up there, but it's weird. You see less and less teams making early picks on running backs and recycling old guys. It's an interesting evolution for the position.
And you see the contracts and the pay structure and the holdouts in that position, reflect that scenario. There is conflict between the owners and the players right now in that position. So.
And I think you'll hear of Melvin Gordon coming back and being less effective than Austin Eckler as argument A for owners not saying running backs are holding out.
Sure.
Right? I mean, not everyone has Eckler as a backup, but I see the
Le'Veon and Connor last year. I mean, right.
He really fucked that whole team this year. Their balance is off. Their tempo is off. Their rhythm is off. They just don't have anything together. You saw last week Eckler still put up 28 points compared to Melvin got his first touchdown or whatever back, but.
I feel pretty good about having Hunter Henry in that offense. It feels like he's a little bit of a safety net, so I'll take what we can get. But Phillip Rivers of old isn't necessary.
The Chargers' offense and their team as a whole, guys, they're on death's door. I mean, let's be honest. Like, they don't have any single home games. Like, it's starting to become a bad organization. It's going to get rough for them here in the future. It really
Especially if the Rams continue to be successful. In that city, it's going to be hard to. Yeah, exactly right. Well, in Game 2 last week, I played the Daddy, and Daddy took me down. He put up 137, which is a respectable number. I put up 95, which is not to my discredit. I did have some injured players. I had some Adam Thielens and some Kerryon Johnson knee surgeries. Things happened, so it wasn't a great week for me. But that's okay. We're going to try to bounce back. And also, the other matchup I wanted to talk about is the Zorros. Taking the stick, you little bitch. They're taking the fine.
Joel,
you
this
75
stick is from
points scoring motherfucker.
I know you don't know what that looks like. I think they refer to it as a palo.
A palo.
El palo para ti.
It usually goes in your culo. But it's here for you whenever you want to come, man. Come and get it.
And what does that say?
That's the Fury.
Okay, so the Fury with 113 points get a win over the Zorros.
Every week.
So,
113.
The next matchup, Young and Confused, was visiting the Avengers, and you know what happens sometimes when you come to Avalon. you get smacked. And Young and Confused got smacked, by about 31 points. So how was that, Tom?
It got close. I think we're bearing the lead on that Fury game. I think that team
he
without
scores
Patrick
113 points every week. That's his average. And he is
You
5-2.
play who's on your schedule. I get what you guys are saying. Okay, if you want to argue that it's unbelievable, I'm willing to sit here and argue that it's unbelievable. If you're saying that we should fault Chris Benner.
No. Here's what I want to be. I want to be.
Play who's on your schedule.
I know. I want to be the lower seed that gets to face him in that second round of the playoffs.
Absolutely.
I do not. And the point I was trying to make was that I'd rather face him in the next 2 or 3 weeks when he doesn't have Patrick Mahomes than in a playoff game when he does.
No
so
question.
I think maybe there's some vulnerability. Maybe there could be a couple losses.
Hey,
in the future.
I face him this week without Patrick Mahomes, and it's still
still daunting.
It's
still
still a
daunting for sure.
dog game. So Benner's going to find a way to put a quality product on the field. He has for the last
113 points,
10 years, whatever it might have been. He doesn't have multiple championships, but whatever. He's won them. He's put it up. So.
Avengers Young was interesting. Young had all but one of his players going in the early games, in the knockout games, or Thursday. But so I had a pretty good idea of what I had to get to. There was some medium battle, but I feel like I had enough in the hole to get there, and it was
a big week for you, though.
We'll take it. Getting to 4 and 3 is a lot different than 3 and 4 for sure. So we feel pretty good about that. Still behind in a lot of the points chases, so I'll be losing some tiebreakers as it stands right now, but I feel like we're trending in a good way.
You feel like you control more of your fate right now.
Yes.
Well, last game of the week.
The
team that has been
OBY
game of the week.
Yeah,
WPs
the game of the week.
at 128.7 versus the Bagels. At 127.7. 1 point game.
We referred to it earlier. If he had started Aaron Rodgers, he would have won here.
Yeah.
128 isn't a huge number. OBJYN has had a pretty good year this year, though, right? I mean, it's sitting at 5-2 now. And sometimes in those years where you do cash in and you cash a check at the end of the fantasy season, you need games like this and weeks like this.
Yes, you do. And classic overcoaching out of our, we talked about it before. Baltimore defense versus Green Bay defense was a 20-point swing. A-Rob could have come in there. So, playing some hunches, maybe doing some things. We all do it. It's agonizing in the morning.
There's probably 5 guys on the waiver wire he could have picked up and played and would have won in the game, But it's hard.
I'm not trying to pile on. I was just
managed
that point.
to lose.
You did manage to lose.
You're not perfect.
Well, there we go.
Hey, quick question.
Yep.
Where did we get this Canadian beer? Anybody remember?
From your fridge.
I don't know. You said didn't you Airbnb out your place last weekend?
Yeah.
Leftovers.
I don't know.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you leaving us the beer.
This is at week's episode would be brought to you by Moosehead.
Moosehead it's lager.
Moosehead lager.
Or it's lager, eh?
Lager, eh? It's union made though, so it's all good.
Yeah. Everybody gets their spot.
All right, this week we're moving into the picks.
Yes.
So week 8, we're halfway there, just like we were 2 weeks ago. And the Fury are visiting the Pimps.
Do you want to go last on this pick since it's your game?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Tom, you want to
I'll let Tom start. The Fury are battling the Pimps in Pimp Stadium. Fury is coming to town. God, this is like Ohio versus Michigan, so we want this game. But Tom, what do you think?
I think the Fury are right for the picking. It says it's a 2-point game in favor of the Pimps. I'd even give 5.5. I'm taking the Pimps, giving them points.
Well, seeing as the Pimps have been averaging way more points, I'm going to take the Pimps this week, guys. Sorry. Are we going to go with the sweep?
Pimps!
Wow.
All right, next game, the Zorros are going to Israel, and they're favored by a flat 30. So
somebody must be missing or not. They must have passport problems.
I'll go first here. Well, it's good. These okay. Let's also say these are current,
current starting lineups. How would they be favored?
So like Ari doesn't even have a player in one.
Doesn't have a tight end.
But
Andrew's on a bye.
The Zorros are still favored by 30, so you can plug any tight end you want in off the waiver wire.
Jared Cook?
I have him, so no.
Oh.
But it's not going to be enough. Zorros get the win.
Well, both of these teams one of these teams is 3 and 4. One of them is Trace and Quadro. I think they're pretty evenly matched. I do think it lies in the favor of the Zorros, so I'm going to go with the Z Daddy.
Trace and Quattro in Israel really does well. They're a little tanner. They get a little more of the chicks. You speak that awesome language. We're going Soros.
I would agree. So that's a sweep.
It is.
The Avengers are visiting Poway. Billy, you're going to go last
I'll go
on
last,
this one, being your team.
Why can't I
you
go
gotta
last?
last
I
too.
don't
You
feel
both-
advantage. I deferred.
Okay, well, I'll go
How about we go
first.
same time?
Okay.
1 means you, 2 means
Let
me.
you go to that hip first.
Okay, I'll go first.
And we'll do it a Rochambeau.
I think it's
1's
actually
you, 2's me.
this is going to trip you up, but it's going to be a push. It's
It's
going to be a tie.
Okay, so if you think you're winning, you go 1, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 1. You're 1 and I'm 2. Okay, ready?
Yep, Billy.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, they pick each other with each hand. They pick each other.
This is true.
So mark that down. And then moving into Daddy. Daddy's got to travel to OBJY and apostrophe S.
Daddy's kicker's on the bye here. OBJ has Mark Ingram out. Also, Jalen Samuels injured.
I like both of these rosters a lot. I think this is going to be the game to kind of look after. I really do. And I'm going to take OBJYNS at home.
I'm going to go ahead and stick with my Lesco Division buddy, my daddy, on this game this week, guys. I think he's really going to make his push and get on the doorstep of those 7 wins and secure his hold on the.
I don't see a lot of difference in these rosters. I'm gonna go for Daddy just simply because I like chaos in the league. I like I like the higher team to lose, the lower team
Absolutely.
to win. So I'm gonna put,
especially when you're the lower team, you want to get the logjam back. So Cardinal Sin, you're up, buddy. You're going to Young and Confused this week, and you're bringing a 16-point cushion from your team. So I think I'm going to take the Cardinal Sin this game. Not only because he's going to blow that out of the water, but because his team deserves to be better number than they are, and this is a game he should win.
I'm just going to go ahead and call a sweep here. Tom?
yeah, there's no chance I'm picking against the same here. That's a no-brainer.
All right,
Gentlemen, we're halfway there.
Halfway there. Ben has no hair. All right, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week.